You work harder than everyone else in your company. Not just a little harder. A lot harder. You stay late when everyone else goes home. You come in early when the office is still empty. You solve problems that nobody else can figure out, the ones that have been sitting in the backlog for months, the ones that everyone else avoids. You save your company thousands of dollars, maybe even hundreds of thousands, through smarter processes, better decisions, and relentless effort. You are the person people come to when something goes wrong because they know you will fix it. You've built a reputation. You've built a career. You've given everything. And then, one day, after another year of sacrifice, you sit down for your annual review. The meeting you've been waiting for. The moment when all your hard work will finally be recognized. Your boss smiles at you, warm and friendly, and says, "Great job. Really impressive work this year. We couldn't have done it without you." You feel a surge of pride. This is it. This is the moment. And then your boss gives you a 3% raise. Not 30%. Not 20%. Not even 10%. 3%. The same raise they give to everyone. The same raise they give to the person who shows up late, leaves early, and does the bare minimum. The same raise they give to the person who has been coasting for years. And here's the crazy part, the part that makes your stomach drop. The person who barely worked, who did just enough not to get fired, got the exact same thing you got. All that extra effort, all those late nights, all those weekends, all that stress, all that sacrifice, and you ended up in the exact same place as someone who did nothing. So now you're sitting there, staring at your boss, trying to keep a smile on your face, and inside your head, a question is forming. A dangerous question. A question that changes everything. Wait, what's the point of trying so hard? Why am I killing myself for a 3% raise? Why am I giving my life to a company that doesn't seem to notice or care? And that's the moment when people start waking up. That's the moment when the illusion shatters. That's the moment when you realize that the game you've been playing, the rules you've been following, the effort you've been pouring in, was never going to get you where you wanted to go. Because what you're about to learn today is this. The system was never designed to reward your effort. It was designed to be predictable, manageable, and cheap. Not fair. Not merit-based. Not rewarding of excellence. And once you understand that, everything changes. Let's break this down in the simplest way possible. The way you would explain it to a child or to yourself if you were seeing it for the first time. Imagine a classroom. A school with one teacher and many students. Everyone studies differently. One student studies for 10 hours every night. They read extra books, do extra homework, stay after class to ask questions. Another student studies for 1 hour, just enough to pass, just enough to get by. Now imagine the teacher stands in front of the class and says, everyone gets the same grade. It doesn't matter how hard you studied. It doesn't matter how much you learned. Everyone gets a B. Sounds unfair, right? Sounds like something that would never happen in a fair system. But that is exactly how many companies work. The teacher is the company. The grade is your raise. And the students are the employees. You believe, because you were taught, because it seems logical, because it feels right, that if you work harder, you will earn more. That effort equals reward. That the system is fair. But in reality, your effort and your reward are often not directly connected at all. They are connected by invisible walls, hidden budgets, and predetermined percentages. The harder you work, the more you might feel like you deserve, but the system doesn't care about what you deserve. It cares about what it can afford to give without breaking its own rules. That is the first illusion. The belief that hard work automatically leads to fair pay. It doesn't. Not in most companies. Not in the system as it is actually built. Here is something that almost nobody tells you. Something that most employees never learn until they've been disappointed for the 5th or 10th time. Your raise was decided before you did the work. Yes. Months before your annual review. Before you saved the company money. Before you solved the impossible problem. Before you stayed late every night for a year. The decision about how much you would get was already made. Let me explain how it actually works. At the beginning of the fiscal year, sometimes even earlier, the executives sit in a room. They look at the company's financial projections, their revenue forecasts, their profit targets. And they decide one number. How much total money are we willing to give to employees in raises this year? Let's say they decide on 3%. That's it. Game over. That number becomes the budget pool. A fixed amount of money set aside for every raise, every promotion, every adjustment for every employee in the entire company. Now, no matter how hard you work, no matter how much value you create, no matter how many problems you solve, you are fighting over a fixed pie that has already been baked. You are not being rewarded for your effort. You are being allocated a slice of a predetermined budget. The decision about your raise was made before you did anything. Your performance didn't determine the number. The budget determined the number. And your boss, no matter how much they like you, no matter how much they want to give you more, cannot change that number. It is not their decision. It was made months ago in a room you've never seen. Now let's visualize this problem so clearly that you'll never forget it. Imagine there is one cake. One beautiful cake with frosting and sprinkles and all the things that make cake delicious. Now imagine there are 100 people standing around that cake. Each person wants a slice. Each person thinks they deserve a big slice. But here's the problem. No matter what anyone does, no matter how hard they work, no matter how much they deserve it, the cake does not grow. It is fixed. It was baked months ago, and it will not get any bigger. So what happens? Some people get a slightly bigger slice. Maybe the top performers get 4% instead of 3%. Some people get a slightly smaller slice. Maybe the lowest performers get 2% instead of 3%. But most people, the vast majority, get almost the same slice. 3%. Right in the middle. That is why hard workers get 3%. That is why average workers get 3%. That is why lazy workers get 3%. Because the system is designed to be predictable, stable, and easy to manage. Not fair. Not rewarding of excellence. Predictable. The company doesn't want to create drama. They don't want to have huge gaps between employees. They don't want to explain why one person got 10% and another got 2%. So they smooth everything out. They give everyone almost the same. And they call it fair. But it's not fair. It's just easy. Now let's talk about performance ratings. Those numbers or labels you get each year that are supposed to reflect how well you did. Exceeds expectations. Meets expectations. Needs improvement. You think your rating is based on your work. You think if you do great work, you will get a great rating. You think the rating is a reflection of your effort and your results. But here is the truth. Your rating is based on quotas. Companies often decide in advance how many people can be in each category. Only a small percentage, maybe 10% or 20%, can be rated as excellent or exceeds expectations. Most people, 60% or 70%, must be rated as average or meets expectations. And a small percentage, maybe 5% or 10%, must be rated as below expectations or needs improvement. Let me say that again. Even if everyone performs well, even if every single employee does an amazing job, someone still has to be labeled average. Someone still has to be labeled below average. Because the system needs categories. The system needs a bell curve. The system needs to distribute people across a predetermined shape. The rating is not a reflection of your work. It is a reflection of where you fit in the quota. You could do the best work of your life and still get a meets expectations because the person next to you did slightly better, or because the quota only allowed 1 exceeds per department. This is not about accuracy. It is about categories. Now think about your annual review meeting. You come prepared. You have a list of everything you achieved. You have numbers, data, examples. You are ready to explain your value, to advocate for yourself, to make your case. You sit down with your boss. They smile. They thank you for your hard work. And then they go through your accomplishments, nodding along, agreeing with everything you say. But what you don't know, what they don't tell you, is that your number was already decided. Days ago, maybe weeks ago. Your boss already knows what raise you're getting, what rating you're getting, what bonus you're getting. The conversation you're having is not a decision. It is a justification. Your boss is not there to determine your raise. They are there to explain why you didn't get more. To give you areas for improvement. To point out things you could do better next year. Not because you failed. Not because you did anything wrong. But because the system needs a reason. The system needs a story. The system needs to justify why the fixed pie was sliced the way it was. The review is theater. It is a performance. And you are not the main character. The system is. Now here is where things get really interesting. Here is where you start to see the full picture. If regular employees are stuck at 3% raises every year, if the fixed pie is tiny and never grows, who is actually making real money in the company? Executives. Senior leadership. The people at the top. Their income is structured completely differently. They don't just get a salary and a tiny raise. They get bonuses, sometimes huge bonuses tied to company performance. They get stock options, shares in the company that can grow dramatically in value. They get equity, ownership in the business itself. They get performance rewards that are not limited by the 3% rule. So while you grow slowly, year after year, 3% here and 3% there, they can grow exponentially. Their income can double, triple, quadruple based on stock price increases, bonus payouts, and equity grants. Different rules. Same company. Same work. Completely different outcomes. The system is not broken. It is working exactly as designed. It is designed to keep the costs of regular employees low and predictable, while rewarding executives with the potential for enormous wealth. You are not playing the same game as the people at the top. You are playing a different game entirely, with different rules, different rewards, and a different ceiling. Now let's look at reality. Let's look at what actually happens to people who successfully increase their income over time. There are 2 types of people. People who stay at the same company for years, sometimes decades. And people who leave. People who move to new companies every few years. The people who stay get 3%. Then another 3%. Then another 3%. Year after year, the same tiny increase. Their income grows, but slowly, painfully, barely keeping up with inflation. The people who leave get 20%. Then 25%. Then 30%. Every time they move, they reset their salary to current market rates. They get paid what the job is worth today, not what it was worth 5 years ago when they started. Why does this happen? Why does the market pay more than loyalty? Because companies have a budget for new hires that is much larger than their budget for raises. They are willing to pay market price to attract talent from outside, but they are not willing to give the same increases to the people who are already there. They assume that loyalty means you will stay for less. And they are usually right. The market pays more than loyalty. Every single time. Here is the trap. The belief that keeps millions of people earning less than they deserve for years, sometimes their entire careers. You think that staying at the same company shows loyalty. You think that loyalty will be rewarded. You think that if you just stay long enough, work hard enough, prove yourself enough, the company will eventually give you what you deserve. But the system sees loyalty differently. It sees loyalty as acceptance. Staying means you are okay with your current pay. Staying means you are not willing to leave. Staying means the company does not need to give you more because you have already shown that you will stay for less. Your loyalty, the thing you thought was a virtue, the thing you thought would be rewarded, becomes the reason you earn less. The company does not reward loyalty. It exploits it. This is the loyalty trap. And it catches the best employees, the hardest workers, the most dedicated people, because they are the ones who stay. So what is the real takeaway from all of this? What should you do with this information? It is not work less. It is not be lazy. It is not give up. Those are reactions of disappointment, not strategies for success. The real takeaway is this. Understand the game you are playing. Because if you don't understand the rules, you will always lose to someone who does. The game of corporate employment has rules. They are not the rules you were taught. Effort is not directly rewarded. Raises come from fixed budgets. Ratings come from quotas. Reviews are theater. Executives play a different game. And the market pays more than loyalty. Once you understand these rules, you can make different choices. You can stop pouring your energy into a system that was never designed to reward it. You can invest your effort where it actually matters. You can negotiate differently. You can leave when it makes sense. You can build your income on your own terms. Not by working harder. By understanding the game. The biggest mistake people make is believing that if they just work harder, everything will work out. That effort alone is enough. That the system is fair. But the truth is this. Hard work without strategy keeps you stuck. You can work yourself to exhaustion, sacrifice your evenings and weekends, give everything you have, and still end up with the same 3% raise as the person who did nothing. Not because you failed. Because you were playing a game you didn't understand. So here is the question you need to ask yourself. Not at your next review. Not when you're frustrated. Today. Are you being rewarded for your effort? Or are you just staying inside a system that limits you? Are you playing the game, or is the game playing you? The answer to that question will determine everything. Your income. Your freedom. Your future. Your life. Because once you see the game for what it is, you can stop playing by their rules. And start playing by yours. If this video changed the way you see work, if it helped you understand the system you're in, subscribe to this channel. Because on this channel, we don't just talk about money. We don't just give you tips and tricks. We expose the systems that keep people stuck without them even realizing it. The invisible rules. The hidden budgets. The traps that look like loyalty. New videos every week. And before you go, write in the comments. Have you ever worked harder than everyone else and gotten the same raise as everyone else? Tell your story. Make it real. Because the more people see the game, the harder it becomes for the system to keep playing them. See you in the next video.